With you, our students of ICT strategy. This is our final lecture on in ICT strategy and policy planning, and it focuses on change management. So, essentially, we're going to look at this thing we call change management. Why? Because we are looking at changing something within our organization. As long as management, as ICT management, we are bringing in something new in our context, we are creating a change, and this change must be handled effectively in order to be able to produce the results that we wish to see. From the beginning of ICT strategy, we talked about performance. We are bringing in ICT strategy to bring about performance, improve performance. And once we are talking about performance, it means that we are looking at a situation which we wish to change. We are at this stage A. We'd like to get to stage B. In order to get to stage B, we must disrupt the environment. So that disruption needs to be handled effectively. So what are we changing exactly? When we are looking at change management, we are changing business processes. Yeah. We may see a likelihood that we may be changing business processes. We may be changing the structure of our organization. There may be managerial roles that are changing. Our assignments may be changing. There may be a change in stakeholder relationships. So whatever it is we're changing, automatically it will generate fear, and fear automatically generates resistance. Okay, so we want to manage this. Why? Because we would like to have a positive change. We'd like to see a positive effect. So we wouldn't want to see that our change, what we're proposing to change, causes resistance. The change may require some proper training and education. Okay? People may be retrained. There may be retraining that is required, especially if you're bringing in a new system. There may be some education and training that may be required. We may require some end users, the people who use systems, to be involved in the change. So we want them to participate in the change. That is one of the things that we do to counteract resistance. So all in all, organizational change requires a plan. And this is what we're going to go through in this session. So what is organizational change? Okay, what is organizational change? Change requires us to be innovative. Yeah. As we are creating change, as we are proposing change, we need to be innovative in the way we bring about this change. One, we need to measure, meaning we need to determine how are we performing now, and once we bring in change, what is the performance once we've brought in the change. Because ultimately we're changing to bring about an improvement in performance. So we need to be able to measure that change and show to the users that this change has brought about this positive effect on your performance. We need to motivate. Okay? We need to positively to bring somebody onto our side. I would like you to come to my side, so I need to motivate you. I need to reward you. I need for you to see the positive effect of this change. So that is what it requires to be innovative. We need to recruit and train employees that are competent enough to take on this new change. Sometimes when we bring in a new IS system or a new way of doing things, we need to see the current employees that we have. Are they able to take on this new way of doing things? Okay? Are they able, are they competent enough? I work in for me who comes from an academic background, academics normally has, most of the time has the senior members of society, because professors most of the time are the senior members, and in academics those are really important. You can't say we only want the young people. No, the professors bring in a key roles. They bring in some wisdom and knowledge that the very young may not be able to grasp at first hand. But however, in most of these technological advanced organizations, the youth are really important, because those can pick up IT skills, ICT skills very quickly, and can pick up new systems and new ways of doing things very quickly. So being able to identify those employees that can pick up these new competencies are really key. Okay. Organizational change it requires us to analyze our current situation. Mhm. Analyze our current situation and see where changes need to be, and also analyze where the resistance may come from. Defining those changes that are going to actually take place, where you determine this is the thing that needs to be changed, the process that needs to be changed. Yeah, this is the business process that needs to be changed. That's one of the skills that organizational change requires. Organizational change requires being proactive, determining where the change is going to be and where the resistance may come from, and tackling that resistance head on. Being able to identify the people, the areas where resistance may come from, and being able to and beginning to manage that change before the resistance comes up. Organizational change requires project management. Yeah, it is integrated together with project management. It is important. Why? Because as long as you have a project that is coming up, you're implementing a new system, you're implementing new business processes. Change management goes hand in hand with that. Here we have a diagram which demonstrates to us the process of change management. We've discussed this a number of times in ICT strategy. We start with our current state of affairs, which we have analyzed, and we have identified the things that need to be changed. Okay? Then change management points to a future that we would all like, a brighter future that we would all like. Now, in order to get this brighter future, we need to ensure that our team moves from our current state to the future state with sustained outcomes. So the change management is the in-between, the in-between from our current state to our future state. So the change management manages the risks, especially with resistance, manages the risks that may stop us from moving from our current state to our future state. In summary, so why change management to ICT projects? Why change management? We all need to understand why we're making the change. We all need to understand. So that's one thing the project, the change management and gives us. Understand why we're making the change. All those who are going to be affected by the change. Know what to change. And know what skills and knowledge need to be changed. So change management helps us, first of all, achieve our goals, the goals we have set out to achieve. It avoids reworking, because if you do not come with change management, You will try to implement a project, and you find that the users, the most important part of the project, refuse to pick it up, and you have to go back and explain and then redo it all over again, re-implement all over again, which creates, which becomes an expensive venture. So it helps you to stay within budget. Those are some of the major risks that we try to, that change management helps us to avoid. Essentially, it helps us to all stay in one page. If you look at this diagram, it demonstrates the miscommunication that happens within project management if you don't integrate change management. You see here in the first caption, a customer tries to explain to you what they want, but probably doesn't do a good job of it. Like all human beings, our communication is not always effective. This is how project lead understood what the customer wants. This is how the analyst designs it. The programmer, this is what the programmer comes up with. But this is essentially what the customer wanted. So we want to avoid those situations. Stages of change. What are those stages of change? Now, whatever the stages of change, we must understand that as long as change is happening, there will always be a sense of loss. We always like the way we do things before. And there's always a fear about changing the way we used to do things. There's always a sense of confusion. There's always a point where you do not understand the new thing that is coming up. But the point is to be patient with whoever it is, with all the participants. Yeah. Always expect skepticism. Those who always are expecting the worst to come out, an increase in the focus of me, and we really need to focus on the team rather than on me. Yeah, my opinion, but the team. Those are the stages. Now we have the positive. We have the response to a positive change, and then response to a negative, the negative side of things. When you have a positive participant, the positive participants always starts with optimism. Once you're explaining what needs to be changed, there's always those ones who say, "Oh, I think I'm positive about this thing. It's going to bring about change," and so on. We have those characters who are positive. Along the way, as we start to implement, pessimism comes in, especially when they see something is not going right. And as we know with new systems, you're starting something, there may be an error that may appear, or there may be a new thing that appears, pessimism that must come in. And this is where, as a person who is leading change, where you must come in to respond to the errors that may appear, or the new way something is happening. The doubt will come in. But as long as we have a constant open flow of information and explanation going on, you are able to overcome this hurdle. So once the users or those who are positive begin to see things are working, there is hopeful realism, especially when they see the new system is working or the new way of doing things actually does work and gives results. And this gives way to informed optimism, yeah, confidence in the new system. So this finally leads to the completion and acceptance, the final stage. So this is the positive side of things. But however, these things are not always positive. We do have those people who are automatically will be negative. You will have those stakeholders who will be negative. Okay? So at one side you have resistance, and on the other side you have time. Everything with time can be answered. Okay? So those who resist normally start with stability. When you have a stable system, things are going okay, and somebody brings in a change, automatically there will be resistance. Why? Because things have been working, so why are you changing? Communication remains key. Normally, this comes with immobilization, especially when you yank something under somebody's, under their foundation. Remove it from them and bring in something new. Then at this immobilization comes in denial. I really don't want, this thing doesn't work. Even when they see it works, Denial comes together with anger. Okay? Now, this is where you, as the change manager, begin to bargain. Of course, we don't want to have resistance. Wouldn't want to start, would prefer the previous, which begins with positive. But if you encounter these users who are angry, begin to bargain with them and say, okay, let us say, for example, have a free day where you're given um, some incentives to try out this new thing. Okay, it could be, you could say, let's go to a new place, a restaurant, or rather a hotel, where we are off on a weekend as staff members, and we try out this new system. This new change normally comes with depression, of course, and that this depression must be handled. To try out, test out the system. Like I said, maybe it's in a new environment. Test out the new system. And once people begin to see it works, then you have acceptance. Of course, as you, the one managing the change, you must be aware if the system works or not. Once the users see that it doesn't work, acceptance will never happen. But what we're driving for is acceptance. And acceptance will happen automatically if things are seen to work. If things are seen to work, acceptance will happen automatically. So these are the individual change responses that we should be able to see. Now, the difference here is that we see, on one side, we see productivity. As long as a user can see their productivity is going up, then they should be able to automatically adopt a system. Once they see productivity is at low, resistance has to be there. Okay? And at this stage, you may encourage one to explore the system. As they begin to explore and they see productivity is going up, then they may be able to commit. But once their old system sees them being productive, then denial has to be there. What we want to see is that we want to see them to explore, and as they begin to explore and they begin to see that the system works, then commitment can come in. So this is where we want to see, this is how we want to manage change. We want to be able to move from resistance to exploration. Once they see productivity is low, then denial is high. We want to see them to explore, and once they explore and they begin to see productivity is going up, then the commitment automatically also goes up. Here we have a framework which helps us to manage change. This framework is not different from all frameworks we've seen, especially with ICT strategy. We start with the planning process. This is where we begin to ask what is going to change, who is going to be affected. And when we ask the question of who is going to be affected, we begin to analyze who the stakeholders are going to be. Those are the stakeholders who are going to be affected by change are the ones that we need to work with, as we need to communicate with. What is going to change? How is it going to be changed? How is it going to affect you? Where, and things, and so on and so forth. When we analyze our stakeholders, then we ask what will be the impact. We evaluate what will be the impact, and here we determine the leadership engagement. Who's going to take leadership, the impact on the workforce. So here, when we analyze that and then we implement, we then begin to communicate to the different people who are affected. We carry out training, and at the end we have sustained change. There are different methods we can use to carry out change management. Please go ahead and go to Google Scholar, find out what these different modes of change management are. But here for this particular phase, we talk about Prosky's three-phase change management methodology. It starts with preparation for change. Basically, if we go back to our previous slide, preparation talks about planning. So in this stage, we define where our change is going to happen, what is going to change. We prepare for your change management team. We determine who our change management team is going to be. We develop your sponsorship model. That means who are the change management champions? Who are these going to be? We move to so this is basically the planning phase. We move to phase 2 where we manage the change. So here we develop change management plans. Okay. Um, the change management plans are basically the action that is going to take place. Once you've determined what is going to change and who's going to be affected, then we take action. We implement our plans, and then we begin to as we begin to communicate to the people who are going to participate. We train them. We manage every stage of change, the pessimism, the doubts, and so on and so forth. We manage all these stages. Then phase 3, we reinforce our changes. So after implementation, we go back for feedback from those who have been affected and determine how the change has been effected. We diagnose gaps which may have been missed out, and then we implement the new changes. Basically, it's a cycle that we go through. So in these slides, basically the slides that follow, we go into detail of each stage. So phase 1, where we say how much change will this project need, who is going to be affected, who are the champions of change. Yeah. So the key outputs here, we want to profile our change. How big of a change are we going to have? The scope, what impact will it have? Will there be new systems that we have a new system that is rolling out? Which users are going to be affected? Whose roles are going to change? So basically mapping out the scale of our change. We profile also the attributes, okay? The groups of people that will be affected, what contribution will this challenge have, okay? Then the change team, the change management team, who is going to take leadership of this change management. That's basically the planning process. So the planning process also identifies the sponsors, the leaders. It also gives an assessment of the impact that it will have on the group where the change is going to happen. Then the change management strategy. This is where you determine, are we going to do this in phases, and how will this be done? Phase 2 is where we implement and we communicate. So the implementation phase starts with communication, where we articulate the message of what is going to happen, especially with those who are going to be affected. The sponsor roadmap, yeah, those who are going to champion the change within the business. So these ones are the ones who are going to experience the change and then go and speak on behalf of the new project. The training plan, okay? Those who are going to be affected, you carry out training. You start with those who are the sponsors, then you begin training. Normally, it is good if you have the training of trainers. The sponsors who are part of the impacted group, when they are trained first, when you're carrying out training, they also speak out. And once colleagues see colleagues using this particular system, they usually pick up much faster than when it is the ICT team that is leading the change program. The importance of the sponsorship program or roadmap is you have the coaching plan. Those who are taking leadership, who are part of the team that are training their colleagues. You have here the resistance management. Is during the implementation that you proactively deal with those who are basically impacted the most. Okay, that those who are the stakeholders, you proactively and reactively address any resistance at this time in the phase 2. Phase 3 is when you analyze what you have done to identify gaps. If there was a new job that has been identified, you actually identify it. If there's been any gaps, you correct it at this time, and also you celebrate any successes. People who have adopted to the change quickly and smoothly, these are identified and they are rewarded. It's also this time when you reinforce, yeah. If there's any compliance and ongoing training and coaching, these are this is at this time that these are reinforced. Individual and group recognition for those who have adopted easily, celebrating any new successes that may have come up. So that is basically change management. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, or I'll put up a discussion forum for further discussion. But I thank you for giving me this time.